Hey everybody, welcome back to JT Channel, and yes, it is now 2026, so Happy New Year to everybody. Remember, I want to make this my biggest year yet, if that is somehow possible, so share as much as you can, and let's make 2026 the best year here on JT Channel. I've actually gained a few more subscribers since my 2-year anniversary post, so we're already on our way. But yes, even though it is 2026, I have to still do my end of year stuff from 2025. I apologize. I did say it would be this week, so I'm technically still on schedule, but I was really hoping it would be out before the new year started, but it's not a big deal. I just got really busy and things got complicated. So with that all said, I'm going to not waste too much time jumping into today's video, my top 15 matches of 2025. It was a great year for matches. I'm 100% sure I left some stuff off of here. I always make that mistake. When I did my top 20 wrestlers of the year, while I was recording the video, I realized I made a few mistakes. So like when I would pause in between numbers, I would have to, sorry, I just realized what I had to do that. I would have to fix something in my notes. So it happens, we all make mistakes, but before I get into the match, you clearly see behind me, excuse me, I want to do my honorable mention, the one honorable mention that I want to talk about. Well, technically it's two. I really think that both the Jon Moxley's matches at World's End were perfect. A lot of people are saying that the Fletcher match was the best one. Simon Miller, I can't think of the word right now, my main inspiration for doing this stuff, even gave that match a golden up. While personally, I preferred the match with Okada. I even said that in one of the threads on What Culture Wrestling. I was like, yeah, I actually think Moxley and Okada had a match of the year contender when there was like 4 days left in the year.
I'm trying to feed your brother.
Somebody even said that I misspelled Fletcher. No, I didn't. I'm not ignoring Kyle Fletcher. I'm saying that my personal opinion, the Okada match was better. Maybe that's a bias thing because it's Okada, but either way, those are my honorable mentions. Jon Moxley versus Kyle Fletcher and Jon Moxley versus Kazuchika Okada that both took place at World's End. So with all that said, without further ado, let's get into my top 15 matches of the year. And first up, it's Cope and Cage against FTR from All In Toronto. I know that a lot of people didn't really care for their singles stuff. Well, not their singles stuff, but I know people have opinions about Cope's singles run, his feud with Jon Moxley earlier in the year, and some of the other stuff he did. But we are not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Edge and Christian. We're going to call them Edge and Christian. I think it helped redefine tag team wrestling at a time when tag team wrestling has not been bad overall. I'm probably thinking more about WWE, how they book their tag division a lot. But it was nice to see these two teams. This was a dream match for a lot of people. Obviously, the dream match would be if ENC had been in their prime back in the mid-2000s, but it's not the mid-2000s. It's 2025 when this match took place, obviously. So I think it was still really good. You had a lot of really good spots. FTR looked great. I paused it here on the double sharpshooter spot. You also had Edge paying tribute to John Cena, Cope, Adam Copeland, whatever you want to call him. But this was just really good. It reminded you that both Cope and Cage could still go. I think it put all the nonsense with Adam Copeland and Jon Moxley and every other stuff back in your head. It like pushed it back, and it gave you a chance to remember how good he could be. Christian's always been great. Like, no matter what he does in AEW, he's been fantastic. He also still made dead father jokes, even though he was a babyface and everyone cheered it. It was really funny. And yeah, this was a really good match. FTR could make me look good, but I think that a lot of people need to go revisit this. I'm happily going to revisit it here soon, because whenever you think, wow, that was like 5 words in one. Whenever anyone thinks about Adam Copeland in AEW, they jump to all the stuff that was bad instead of remembering this fantastic match and fantastic feud. So number 15, FTR, Cope and Cage, All In Toronto. Number 14 is a match that I am very sad has to be this low on my top 15 list. And it almost didn't even make it into my top 15. However, I'm incredibly biased with these two superstars. So therefore, it is in my list at number 14. Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada at All In Texas. It just did not live up to their other matches. And that was to be expected because it had been 7 years or something since the last time they wrestled in a one-on-one feud like this, one-on-one match. So it was never going to be as good as their other matches, but it was still pretty darn good. Like, there's a few people I feel like I say a few people, there's people on the internet who I feel like may have overreacted or underreacted, whatever you want to say, who are like, oh, this match was terrible. No, it wasn't. It's Omega and Okada. Two more guys that are the ones that you can say, oh, they could wrestle a broom. Don't do that. Don't let them wrestle a broom. But if anybody would be, it'd be Omega. Apologies for all the pausing. I'm trying to keep all the fussing and loud noises out of the video. But anyway, the point is, I still think these two had a fantastic match. Maybe some people out there think that it is too low on my list, but this is one of those times where I took my time with this list after all the mistakes with the wrestlers of the year. And they just did everything you expected them to do. Maybe it was a little shorter than we all hoped. Maybe it was a little slower than we all hoped. But it was still Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada, which, fun fact, spoiler alert for anyone who doesn't know, they have one of my favorite matches of all time in my, ever list. They're in the top 5, probably top 3 with one of their matches. I'm not going to tell you which one. I'll make you wait for that conversation. Because someday I do want to do my, top matches of all time or whatever. Point is, these two really good. I'll make it have a bad match if they were told, go out there and have a bad match. I think it's impossible. Number 14, Omega Okada from Alvin, Texas. Here we are, number 13, which is an unlucky number, I guess. But number 13 in my top 15 of all time, John Cena and AJ Styles for Crown Jewel Perth. Again, a match that maybe could be higher in my list, but I'm trying to think of it from, a wrestling point of view. I don't know how to explain how my brain works. The point is, I love this match. Part of me thinks this might have been the best match of the year because of how much fun it was. It was a love letter to pro wrestling. All they did was do other people's finishers for 15 minutes, but it made sense because they're legends. They were paying tribute to all the wrestlers that inspired them, and the finish was absolutely fantastic. I'll talk about that in a second because I want to. But this was just great. I've seen 3 interviews with John Cena now. It is 100% true that little intro he gave to Alicia for AJ Styles was 100% not planned, or from anybody else anyway. Genuinely forgot what I was saying, but this was just a lot of fun. Oh, the piece of paper, whatever. But yeah, AJ Styles legitimately didn't know about that. John Cena admitted that maybe he should have gotten it approved, but then he was like, I didn't really care. He just gave it to Alicia to read. But then, yeah, you have all of them, both of them doing all of their former friends or former colleagues or mentors finishing moves. And the finish, now that some time has gone by, I think means even more than we realize, because after John Cena debuted in 2002 and had a hell of a fight with Kurt Angle, on that same night, he was given respect by The Undertaker. Now, this was American Badass Undertaker, but John Cena did the Tombstone pile driver before he did the final AA, which made a lot of people why did he do the Tombstone? Ah, ha, 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 ha. But it's, one, because The Undertaker's probably done forever for real, and 2, he was one of the first people that John Cena interacted with when he debuted, and I'm sure that had something to do with it. So, again, is it a 5-star classic 6.25 in the Tokyo Dome? No. But is it some of the most fun you're ever going to have, especially if you're a long-time, full-life wrestling fan like I am? Yes, it is. So, if you haven't seen it, it's free on YouTube now. They just released it on YouTube. So, go check it out there or go rewatch it on whatever it's on. But, yeah, AJ Styles and John Cena definitely belong at number 13 on my list. In at number 12, I forgot what number we were at, is a match that I had genuinely somehow forgotten about, and that's Kevin Owens versus Cody Rhodes in the ladder match at the Royal Rumble, which was in a much better place than it's going to be this year. Stop talking about it. But this was awesome, right? The whole story with Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes was fantastic. WWE allowing Kevin to bring in his package pile driver and other pile drivers to kind of show he's lost his mind. I will admit, I did expect a big spot in this match. There were a lot of good ones, but I expected some sort of crazy, oh no, Kevin Owens did a destroyer off of a ladder, through a table, onto thumbtacks, through fire. I'm obviously over-exaggerating, but this was just an awesome match. It came before the unfortunate announcement of Kevin Owens, which I literally just told my wife when I was switching to this match that I miss Kevin Owens a lot. I think I miss Kevin Owens more than I miss Big E. But obviously, health and happiness comes before pro wrestling, so I hope Kevin Owens is okay. Obviously, the nerd fan part of me wants him to come back as soon as possible and finally get a proper... If he comes back, if Kevin Owens comes back, he has to win the WWE title, the World Heavyweight Championship. Not that I don't love the world title. I love it so much. I have an old school version with my last name on it sitting here in my house. And it's a replica. It's one of the heavy motherfuckers. But I just think Kevin Owens deserves it. He's always deserved it. He's had runs as Universal Champion. I don't think he's had a run at the WWE title. So if Kevin Owens can come back, you give him the world title. You don't waste time. You don't stand on ceremony, Mr. Wayne. You just do it. This match, proof that Kevin Owens is one of the best ever. Cody, top babyface of all time. This is a match, again, it's on YouTube. You can just go watch it. That you have to go rewatch. If you are like me and you happen to somehow forget about it, go rewatch it. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Stop this video right here at number 12 so you don't see the rest of the numbers. Go watch it on YouTube. Like, you're already on YouTube, so go check it out. And then when you're done, come back here. Fantastic match. Kind of wish Kevin Owens would have won at some point, but WWE has clearly placed a crown on Cody Rhodes' head. He's their big star, so they're only going to have him lose to bigger stars, which we'll talk about later. But yes, Kevin Owens, Cody Rhodes, ladder match, number 12. Number 11, I think, is my very first proper controversial take, simply because, again, it is kind of low on my list, but this is my list. Jon Moxley, Hangman Adam Page, Texas Death Match from All In, Texas. I loved All In, Texas. A lot. I love this match. A lot. It's just like my Wrestlers of the Year, right? I'm only putting them in a ranking because it's what everybody else is doing. I don't just want to throw 15 matches at you and you go, okay, cool. So I put them in an order, but it's by this much. It's by 2%. It's like, I like this match just a little more than this one, just a little more than this one. So this, again, like my Superstars of the Year, Wrestlers of the Year, there's going to be things that you guys don't agree with. This being not even in the top 10, even I'm a little like, did I make a mistake? But no, this is where I think this belongs. Not because the match was bad or anything or worse than the rest of the matches on this list. This wasn't about the match. It was about the story. It was about Hangman Adam Page finally freeing the AEW World Championship from the grip of Jon Moxley. I've been watching wrestling my whole life, 34 years, almost 35. But I've never in my life heard a pop for the opening of a briefcase. But that's what we got here because they've done such a good job. And I really want to make a video on Jon Moxley and his story, but I won't. Not yet anyway. But it was just fantastic. The match was really good. Obviously, Jon Moxley bled like a stuck pig. Hangman Adam Page winning the title was the right move. You had the Death Riders run out. Hangman had friends. There was just some sort of release of endorphins, I suppose, when Hangman won the title finally. And Jon Moxley went off to go do the Continental Classic and something else. Again, we won't talk about it here. But this was awesome. It was a great finale to a fantastic show. Great main event. It's not for everybody. Unfortunately, you can't just watch this. This isn't just free. They might be putting it on HBO Max soon or today or something. I thought I read somewhere that they're going to put All In Texas on HBO Max for free video on demand viewing soon, but maybe it was a different show. Point is, if you can find this match, go out of your way, watch it. If you're into deathmatch wrestling, AEW has never put a stipulation in front of you and not delivered. It's not like when WWE back in the day would say, it's a street fight, and they would use one kendo stick and throw each other in the barricade and maybe go through the announce table. If AEW says a street fight, they might legitimately go fight in the street. If AEW says a cage match, you're going to get a cage match. I don't even know how to explain that one. But when AEW says Texas death, you're going to get death in Texas. So it's really violent, it's really bloody, but it's a fantastic match, especially when you know the story going in. It made it so much better. The fans at home and in the arena were desperate for Jon Moxley to lose that belt. He lost it to a man who a lot of people, including myself, call the main character of AEW. It was perfect. It really was. But for now, it sticks at number 11, Jon Moxley, Hangman Adam Page. Yet another match for All In Texas. You can't tell how much I loved All In Texas if you're not paying attention. Couldn't get a good background for this. Apologies for that. But it's Toni Storm and Mercedes Moné for the Women's World Championship. Sorry, I had to take care of something and check something. But I think that this is quite possibly Mercedes Moné's best match ever. I think she gets way too much hate online, and it's just online. Like, I've been in an arena with Mercedes Moné that when she was on the show. And fans love her. There's like one guy who escaped his mom's basement from the internet and everything. It's like, boo, but nobody can hear him. She's one of the best wrestlers in the world. I think she's in my top 10 wrestlers of the year. And this match just proved that. Now, I'm not saying all her matches are perfect. There are some that lack jeopardy. There are some that, don't click. I remember when she wrestled Britt Baker, and I thought that match had the potential to be one of the best women's matches ever, and it fell flat. Not everybody has chemistry. Toni Storm has chemistry with everybody. Everybody. And Mercedes Moné, when she can connect with someone, it's incredible. These two, they play to each other's strengths, and it gave Mercedes, I think this was her first singles loss in AEW, which, when you look back on it, was kind of a turning point moment, because we fast forward to today. Spoilers for anyone who didn't watch AEW Dynamite last night. So, okay. She just lost the TBS title to Willow Nightingale. And she's lost the Ring of Honor Television Championship. She lost the British something, Rev Pro title or something. The point is, she's losing a lot now. I'm not saying she lost a lot starting at All In Texas. However, that was her first loss. Her first singles loss was at All In Texas. And then, as the year continued to go on, she started to lose a little more and lose a little more and lose a little more. And here we are exactly where I knew we would be all these months later. I knew this was coming. I said it earlier in the year. I said it multiple times throughout her Ultimo Moné run, that the whole point of her winning all these belts was to lose all these belts, was to put other wrestlers over. That's why I can't stand the IWC, because they're like, oh, she's just burying talent and burying promotions and blah, blah. No, she's putting herself in a position to put people over. That's what you do. You win a major belt, and then you put someone over. Remember Roman Reigns. He held one belt for 4 years. That pissed a lot of people off, and then he lost it to Cody Rhodes in what some people are still calling the greatest WrestleMania main event of all time. I hate to break it to you, but it's not even that good of an actual match. It's the latter half, where all these wrestlers, Solo Sikoa, John Cena, The Rock, The Undertaker, all come out because it's Bloodline rules. And the Usos, who were embroiled in a feud at the time. It was really, really good stuff. I can't argue. But that's the point of Ultimo Moné. She's going to keep losing and keep losing and keep losing. And now she's made Willow Nightingale the first ever 2-time TBS champion. So it all started here. Toni Storm, Mercedes Moné. I think it's Moné's best match in AEW yet. I think it's her best match of the year for sure. And again, Toni Storm is one of those people that you can put in the ring with anybody and they're going to have a good match. So that is how we kick off our top 10 with Mercedes Moné and Toni Storm. We properly get into our single digits now at number 9 with Hangman Adam Page, Will Ospreay, Double or Nothing 2025. This was so damn good. It was the Owen Hart Cup Finals. I don't even know what to say. It's not free on YouTube, unfortunately. So again, if you can find it, watch it. It being the Owen Hart Cup Finals, perfect. Will Ospreay is, I think, inarguably one of the guys that's going to be leading wrestling here very soon. He's one of the best wrestlers in the world, period. I had him somewhere on my list. I got my list right here. I had him at number 12 just because he got injured and we couldn't see him for a while. But when he comes back, that world title scene is packed. Put him in there too. And this was, I think, the beginning of Hangman Page's ascendancy back to the world championship. You had some great moments, some great, near falls. You had the spot with the announce table where it broke while they were standing on it, and then Hangman did the dead eye on what was left of the destroyed table. That was really cool. It was just a fantastic match. Two really good wrestlers. The Owen Hart Cup is it's one of my favorite tournaments. I know the Continental Classic, the C2, is probably better because of the whole no interference rule, so it's always just one-on-one. And they want fans to know they mean it with the no interference rule, because they push the whole, if there's interference, you could be fired from the company. But the Owen Hart Cup's always fun for obvious reasons. It's Owen Hart. And I think if Owen Hart was around today, he would look at someone like Hangman Adam Page, and that'd be someone he would really, really enjoy. Not saying he wouldn't enjoy Will Ospreay. Owen Hart's one of those guys that laid the foundations for wrestlers like Hangman and Ospreay. So it was definitely a perfect final, I think. I don't think you could have gotten any better than these two. And it's one of those matches that a lot of people are putting at the top of their list. I think this match is the reason a lot of people think Double or Nothing was the best show of the year. So Will Ospreay, Hangman Adam Page, number 9 in my top 10. Again, go watch it. Number 8 is a match another one that I feel like not enough people are talking about. People talk about the Evolution pay-per-view a lot. It was pretty much perfect. I think it was miles better than the first one, but that's just my opinion. And one of the matches that, again, nobody talks about nearly as much as I feel like they should, but I talk about all the time, is the 4-way match for the women's tag team titles, which was the Kabuki Warriors taking on Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, taking on Zara Ruka, which was Sol Ruka and Zarya, and taking on, I actually forgot. I'm stupid. The champions, which were Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez at the time. This is when Liv Morgan was still injured. So this match, you already know part of the reason I liked it so much. Sol Ruka was in it, and I don't even know what to say about Sol Ruka anymore. I've put her over as much as I can on this channel. But this was just a fantastic match. You had 4 teams from all over WWE showcasing how good they are. I think that Sol Ruka will be on the main roster in 2026 because of matches like this, performances like this. Also, you can also put her match against Bayley on there. Good God. I don't know why am I stuttering so bad right now. But Zarya too. Zarya is incredible. But this, again, it just showcased all these women. It was an opportunity for everyone to really make their presence known. It's hard for me to explain because you had people like Charlotte and Alexa and Kyrie and Asuka who have been there forever. But it also was an opportunity for people who tuned in to see a women's wrestling pay-per-view, to see the other people, Roxanne and Raquel, and of course Sol Ruka and Zarya, and they all showed up and showed out. I'm pretty sure Sol also did a double Soul Snatcher at one point, which popped my socks right off my feet. This was just really, really good. It was one of those matches where you could see every single wheel turning. I don't think they made a single mistake. I think they hit every single spot they went for, which isn't easy in a one-on-one match, but much less when you have 8 people and you're running in and running out and there's all these spots you have to get right. It was just really, really good. It's another one that I think we'll look back on someday and go, oh, I remember this match and look where they are now. And that's kind of what I hope happens with Sol Ruka and Zarya. I know, again, I think they might break up or they might have already broken up. I don't know. But I wouldn't mind seeing them come to the main roster as a team and maybe win those belts someday. So the Fatal 4-Way Tag Team title match at Evolution is in my list at number 8. Another match that I am very happy to tell you is free on YouTube. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn in an unsanctioned match at number 7. This was so good. We knew that there was going to be a line, right? They're in WWE, and WWE is not AEW, and they're not TNA or any other company. They are WWE, and they have specific rules and regulations and whatever. So we're not going to see pouring blood. We're not going to see fire. We're not going to see glass. We weren't going to see anything crazy like that. But it's Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, and they most likely didn't agree to this unless they were allowed to go a little crazy. That's why there was a barbed wire chair. That's why Kevin Owens is biting Sami Zayn while putting a hockey stick in his mouth. This was fantastic. This was pretty fucking brutal, actually, for a WWE match, even under unsanctioned rules. This was, of course, at Elimination Chamber in Toronto, so it's where they're both from. I don't know if they're both from Toronto, but they are both from Canada. So you had the Canadian heroes that everyone loves, kind of taking their forever feud and friendship, whatever you want to do, and reaching a fever pitch with this unsanctioned match, which, again, it was pretty much perfect. Again, it really sucks that Kevin Owens got injured before he got to have a match with Randy Orton, because who knows where he'd be now. He might be WWE champion by now if he had been able to continue, because he didn't really get injured. It's just he has neck problems. It's a lot like what happened to Adam Copeland, where he was wrestling and he seemed fine, but then he started, something felt wrong, so he went and got checked, and doctors were like, yeah, if you fall on your head, you die. Thankfully, he got all that fixed and he's wrestling now. So it could be the same situation, but now it's 2026 as we're making this video, and maybe Kevin Owens can get the right help and come back someday. I'm gonna stop. I just miss Kevin Owens. But this was really good. Again, the story was fantastic, and Kevin Owens is just on fire when he's in matches that are no rules. I'm not saying he can't wrestle regular matches. It just, whenever there is a stipulation, especially when it's like no DQ, unsanctioned, whatever, I feel like he thrives, even though when he won the NXT Championship for the first time, that was a regular match. He just kept powerbombing Sami Zayn on the apron and in the ring until people told him to stop and gave him the belt. So Really, really good stuff. Again, I'm going to keep promoting this. I'm not trying to promote WWE. I'm trying to help you. If you haven't seen this match or you may have forgotten about it, it's free on YouTube. Go check it out. It is worth your time. Number 7, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Unsanctioned. Number 6, before we get into the top 5, is a match that I knew was going to blow my mind because when the women are allowed to do the things the men are, they always knock it out of the park. And this was the women's blood and guts match. I am going to do this right in front of you because there's no way I'm going to remember all the competitors in this match. It doesn't even tell me. It's not even telling me who they all are. But Toni Storm was in it. Marina Shafir, Mina Shirakawa, Sky Blue. I think the whole Triangle of Madness might have been in it, actually. Willow Nightingale. It was just some of the top women in the heel and face divisions. Well, some of the top heels and faces in the women's division. There we go. I got it right. There was a bed of nails. There was broken glass. There was a mirror that got shattered that then got used. The broken glass got used as a weapon. Marina Shafir put her bare foot on the glass to get it to stick to her foot just so she could stomp on people with glass in her foot. She's insane. But this was awesome, right? This was incredible. I think every year that the women's War Games match is better than the men's because the men's matches always feel like they are going to focus more on story, which isn't fair to the women. However, because the women decide to focus just a little bit less on story, they throw a bunch more weapon spots in, and plus Io Sky gets to jump with a bin on her head. So it was always going to be the same thing with AEW. Every year people were like, where's the women's blood and guts? Where's the women's blood and guts? Like 2 years ago, there were two very clear, this might have even been last year, 2024, you know what I mean. It was either 2024 or 2023. There was a very clear, line down the middle. There was clear teams you could have put together for women's blood and guts, and they just didn't do it, and it didn't make any sense. They didn't even do like a Anarchy in the Arena or anything. It seems like wrestling companies are always hesitant to put women in these positions, and then when they do, they look stupid because the women absolutely knock it out of the park, and as I just said, usually do better than the men. It was no different with blood and guts. I think the women's blood and guts match was better than the men's. The men's was fine. It always is. It's always great. I saw a blood and guts match live in 2023. I'll never forget it. That was 2024. Either way, the women's one I think was better, and I think if they're going to do it, continue doing it like they did this year. There was a lot of story. They took like two stories and kind of merged them, but that worked because it was like, well, we'll help you, and then they'll help us. So it was awesome. It was really violent. Again, it's like an hour plus long because of the rules or whatever. But if you have time, if you have the stomach for it, check it out. Women's Blood and Guts at number 6. And now we're jumping into the top 5. So my background may be confusing for this one, but if you know, you know. If you don't know, I'm about to tell you. But number 5, kicking off my top 5 match of the year, Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky from Evolution. I don't care where you put this match. It's been on Raw. It's been on pay-per-view. It was partially at WrestleMania. It was Rhea Ripley and Io Sky they're wrestling soulmates, right? That's a thing in pro wrestling. Two wrestlers that no matter what you do with them, they're perfect. Enemies, friends, it didn't matter. I watched something recently where I think it was the Women's Royal Rumble 2022. I was just screwing around, and Rhea Ripley still had that short blonde hair, and Io Sky was still Io Shirai, and she was still on NXT. She was like a surprise in that Rumble. So cool to look back that far and see now. Not only have they had some of the best matches in the world against each other, but they have also become friends, and it still works. They've gone from being straight up enemies to becoming respected friends that will still fight and kick the hell out of each other. Again, I think they're wrestling soulmates. Of course, Naomi is my background because the Evolution match is also where Naomi cashed in Money in the Bank and became one of the funniest and most entertaining heels in a long time. It is not unfortunate at all that she had to relinquish the title because she relinquished it because she's pregnant. Couldn't be happier for her. It is unfortunate that we, as an audience, lost Naomi as a heel. Her insults, all hilarious. The way she talks, the way she acts. She's being herself as a bad guy. And I think this is something I learned while training as a wrestler. The best persona you can portray for pro wrestling is taking yourself and turning it up to 11. That was what I was taught. That is what I tried to convey when I was trying to get my character together and that's what Naomi did here. She took her own personality, the way she most likely acts in real life, and just made herself an asshole, and everyone just loved it. She wasn't a heel, but she wasn't really a baby face. It's just, again, Rhea and Io had one of the best matches of the year. Obviously, I have it at number 5. They had an incredible singles match that, in my opinion, was topped off by Naomi cashing in, and it was perfect for the most part. So number 5 is Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky at Evolution. I just had to point out that that's not how the match ended, because the match ended with Naomi. Now we're getting into the nitty gritty. Nothing against number 5, but these top 4, I had to twirl them around to pick what order they were going to be in. And at number 4, Seth Rollins, CM Punk, Roman Reigns, the main event of WrestleMania, night 1. It's still a main event. There's somebody on Twitter who I saw a couple days ago getting absolutely murdered on Twitter for saying that CM Punk didn't main event WrestleMania. If you were picked to main event WrestleMania night 1, you'd go tell all your friends and family that you main evented WrestleMania. So shut up, drop it. We're not talking about it here. This is a main event. I don't know what to say. This is one of those matches I don't know what to say with. I will say, once again, very happily, that this is free on YouTube. So again, if you haven't watched it, what are you doing? If you have watched it, go watch it again. I might do that as soon as I'm done making this video, because this was so good. This was easily one of the best WrestleMania Night 1 main events ever, and I think you could put it up there against any other WrestleMania main event. You had 3 of the top stars in the company, easily in the top 5. The only people that come close in my head are John Cena and Cody Rhodes. That's it. Those are your top 5 stars in WWE, and you had 2 of them in the main event of night 2, and these 3 in the main event of night 1. The stories were so good. They were all intertwined. Punk and Rollins just cannot stand each other. Punk and Reigns have always had this respect for one another, but they've also loved to kick each other's ass. And then you had Rollins and Reigns, who have been feuding for a decade plus at this point after the dissolution of the Shield. This was just awesome. You had great spots, you had great moments, and you had all the stuff with Paul Heyman. That's the thing, is a lot of us tend to forget that the vision and everything, all that started here, right here, WrestleMania Night 1. Because you had Paul Heyman low-blowing CM Punk and then low-blowing Roman Reigns. And even there, something that I didn't really notice until like a month or so later when people were still talking about it, is when Paul Heyman low-blows CM Punk, he cries. He is so upset. He says, "I'm sorry. You did this to yourself." Blah, blah, blah. Well, he didn't say you did this to yourself, but he apologized and said he's just doing what he thinks is right. And then he stands with Roman Reigns. But when he low-blows Roman Reigns, it turns to rage. He hates Roman Reigns. He's sick of Roman Reigns. He wants to get away from Roman Reigns. It's stuff like that I didn't even notice on the night, that I've had to go back and see again, that made this match so good. And of course, Seth Rollins wins. And again, injury has unfortunately taken him away for a while, which sucks. But I do think WWE is doing the best they can in the interim. I don't want to talk about the vision right now, but this was just awesome, right? CM Punk's first WrestleMania main event. And again, no matter what losers on the internet say, you could tell that's what CM Punk felt like it was, and he clearly was emotional the entire time. He broke down again in real tears when he signed the contract. So I would go check it out again. Like I said, I might go check it out again, hear it a little bit just because it's that good. CM Punk, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, number 4. Now things are going to get interesting, because what could possibly be my top 3? Well, would you look at that? It's all in Texas again. I wonder if this is any sort of hint to my other video. Guess we'll find out. But at number 3 is the Young Bucks against Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland. This may be the best tag team match I've ever seen in my entire life. I know that's saying a lot. I'm 34 years old, almost 35. I've been watching wrestling since I was but a fetus, and I have seen so much tag team wrestling. But if you're into this style of wrestling, what the Bucks, Ospreay, and Swerve do, this is perfect. This is genuinely perfect. I understand that this specific scene bothers people. It's the whole somebody hits a destroyer and then no-sells it. Although they didn't no-sell it. They hit the destroyer, they popped up, they fought back, and then they immediately collapsed, which is something I like in wrestling. Sometimes in a fight, you get punched in the face, you get a sudden burst of energy, and then you fight back for a second. So while people are mad about it, I tend to believe stuff like that. Like, oh, they got hit with the destroyer. but they popped up, hit a move real quick, and then were able to drop down and hit something before they, ugh. But this was just awesome. Everything was perfect. Again, the story was fantastic. You had the Bucks being the EVPs and running everything and ruining people's lives, and Ospreay and Swerve being like, hey, why don't we put aside our differences and take these idiots out? And that's exactly what they did. It was another proper ending. All In Texas did a really good job of sending the fans home happy, where Swerve and Ospreay won, so the Bucks had to lose their EVP status, and then the run the Bucks went on after this was great, with like not having proper entrance music, saying they were out of money, and then having to wrestle for money. It was just a fantastic start to a great story. And there are still people, right, for some reason, and we'll get to this at number 2 as well, who go online and are like, I don't watch AEW because they don't tell stories. Every single thing they have done the last 8 to 10 months has been story driven. I got on somebody's case on, I think X. I got my Twitter, whatever, back. I'll start promoting that eventually on the channel so you guys can follow me there. But somebody on Twitter said that they can't stand AEW because they don't tell stories. And I had to reply, and a lot of people replied to him and said the same thing I did. But World's End had a story-driven narrative for every single match, even the C2. Like, yes, that's a tournament, but that's still a story. And they even gave Okada and Moxley time to cut promos to tell more story before the finals. Every single match had a promo video. And some people were like, oh, well, that takes up time. Who cares? It shows you the story. And there are people, like my mom, who don't watch AEW. And I'm not saying she went out of her way to buy a pay-per-view, but let's say she did. Let's say I pushed her and she was like, oh, I'll watch World's End. Someone who's never watched AEW or barely watches it now is caught up on every single match, every single story, every single beat. So I know this is a completely separate rant, but I'm just tired of grifters who just lie, who don't watch AEW, who pick one match on Dynamite and go, oh, there's an authority to that, and then think that's all AEW is. This match had so much story going into it, and it didn't stop here, because then you did the whole they aren't EVPs anymore story, which they're still doing now. It's just now they're baby faces again, which, amazing, amazing stuff. All In Texas had a lot of good matches, but I do think this was probably the best one on the night. It is, I will say, it is the last one on my list, in case you're expecting any more in number 1 or 2. But yeah, sorry about that little rant there, but the Young Bucks against Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland, again, another match I'd like to go back and watch just to see if I'm feeling the same way I did before and right now, where, again, it may be the best tag team match ever just because of all the spots and the story, and everybody was on tenterhooks. It's something else Simon Miller says, I don't even get it. But pale point is everyone was on edge because you didn't want the Bucks to win, because you want them to lose their EVP status, but also, and I forgot to mention this, and you may have forgotten, that if the Bucks won, Ospreay and Hangman, or I keep saying Hangman, Ospreay and Swerve could not challenge for the world title for 1 year. And a lot of people were curious what would have happened then. Would they have done whatever for a year, and then at All In, maybe they would have been in a number one contenders match, or a title match even, maybe they just break out of it. It was a cool thought process to have before the match ended. So, number 3, I'll stop talking about it, the Young Bucks against Swerve Strickland and Will Ospreay. This was tough. My top 2, putting either one of these not at number 1 was really difficult, but because of what I'm doing, I said this whole list, right, is like 2%. Number 1 and number 2 are like 0.5% away from each other, okay? Just so you guys know, but at number 2, Toni Storm, Mariah May, the Hollywood ending that you forget took place in 2025 at AEW Revolution. One of the best matches AEW has ever put on. One of the best stories AEW has ever told. See, here I go again about stories. It's brutal, it's emotional, and knowing what we know now, looking back on it, it's a moment in time, because Toni Storm would go on to win back the women's title, lose it, start this team with Mina Shirakawa in the tag team division, be in the Blood and Guts match, and still be one of the top wrestlers of the year. She was number 5 in my top 20 wrestlers of the year. If you haven't seen that video, go watch it. But she's incredible. Easily, this match, when you ended this feud, which again started in 2024 and was so damn good, And then you go into 2025 and look at the year Tony's had, and it all pretty much started here. Fantastic. Of course, I want to call her Blake Monroe. I just said it. Mariah May. Mariah May went on to become Blake Monroe in NXT, and she's super over there. She had a feud with Jordynne Grace to start things. And I think she's the Women's North American Champion, maybe? Point is, she's doing incredible things in WWE, and that's the big time, whatever. I'm tired of talking about that. But most wrestlers want to have at least one run in the WWE. It's the company that's been around for ages and ages and ages. And it's the big dog, like I said. It's the big company or whatever. So Blake Monroe being in WWE is great. She's having a great time. And again, I hate to keep talking about stories, but this all started when Mariah became like under the tutelage of Toni Storm in 2024. Then she turned on her in one of the most brutal turns you're ever likely to see, even though it did involve a shoe, but it was still really cool to watch. And again, it ended here, the Hollywood ending. If you haven't seen it, you got to find time to watch it. You got to find time. If I were you, I'd even go back and catch up on the story. Yes, they have the video package, but I think reliving everything yourself is good. Like, watch some of the stuff as a team, watch the heel turn, watch some of the other stuff they did, and then watch the Hollywood ending. Fantastic. Again, it was really hard to pick between the two matches I had picked as number 1 and 2. Everything else, yeah, I did a little shuffling around here and there, like the tag team match and the triple threat. Sure, I could have shuffled them around here too, but I was pretty positive on what I wanted my top 2 to be. So that's number 2, Toni Storm, Mariah May, Hollywood ending. And again, after some thought, I'm pretty set on number 1. Number 1 is a match that, to this day, ever since WrestleMania, people are calling the greatest opening match in WrestleMania history. And that's saying a lot considering WrestleMania 10 opened with Owen Hart versus Bret Hart. I could go on for ages about opening matches at WrestleMania, but how incredible of a conversation is that? Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to say? I'll tell you what I can say. It's free on YouTube. Get out of here. I will see you next time. No, this was just 3 of the best women's wrestlers on WWE's roster and any roster in the world taking their opportunity and running with it. Not doing a normal WWE triple threat match where one person gets knocked down, the other 2 fight for a while. There was a lot of interaction between these 3. Rhea Ripley, I think, threw Io into Bianca at one point. I think you had a couple of Tower of Doom spots. Everybody looked great. Excuse me. And you had this interesting contrast as to most WrestleMania matches. Usually they build the challenger up and you want the title to change hands. Not here. The story, I will stop talking about stories eventually, but the story was that Rhea and Bianca were kind of ignoring the champion because they were so just butting heads so much that they would ignore Io, who then would slap them around and beat them up and be like, no, you can't ignore me. I'm the champion. What is wrong with you? That drop kick, if you don't know what I'm talking about, during one of the segments, it might have been the contract signing, Bianca and Rhea got into it so bad that Io went to leave, and then she did a springboard drop kick, front drop kick to Bianca's back. There was nothing fake about that. She full set that drop kick, and she straight kicked Bianca into Rio. It was fantastic looking. But this is such a good match. And the finish is so good. Not only is it like a good finish, but it's shot so well. Bianca's got Rhea rolled up, kind of, and the referee's counting. All of a sudden, the camera cuts to Io Sky in midair, and she just lands on top of both of them. And I think she pins Bianca, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, I have the picture behind me. It was a fantastic finish. Yeah, they kind of did that finish twice in the same weekend. I don't think it was twice in the same show, was it? I don't know. But it's, they also did the Intercontinental title Fatal 4-Way where Dominic Mysterio, did the frog splash onto Finn Balor and whoever Finn Balor was pinning before he won the belt. But it didn't matter because everyone wanted Dominic Mysterio to win the Intercontinental Championship. The WrestleMania is kind of where Dom became the babyface he is now. But this match, again, people are still calling it the best opening match in WrestleMania history. And you can go back and look at 2-night WrestleManias, 1-night WrestleManias, like I said, all the way back to WrestleMania 10, where the opening match was Owen versus Bret. And it's hard to argue. I don't know every opening match in WrestleMania history by any stretch of the imagination, but remember at one point Money in the Bank ladder matches used to open WrestleMania, and we're saying that these 3 women topped that. So my match of the year, and I do think while it was hard to make the decision, but I do believe beyond a shadow of a doubt is Io Sky, Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania 41. Right? Yeah, because 42's in Vegas and 43's in Saudi Arabia. We'll talk about that never. Thank you, everybody, so much for watching. 45 minutes of me just running down my favorite matches of the year. Don't forget to like, share, please share, and subscribe. Leave your comments down below. What did I leave out? Are there any matches that you disagree with? Again, this is a controversial take. Omega versus Okada was 13 entries ago. I feel like that's a crazy thing to say. I do think 2026 is going to give us more of the same, which sounds bad, but I don't mean it bad. I mean that there's so much potential for more good matches. And I didn't even mention the Fatal 4-Way at World's End and the tag team match at World's End were both just incredible. I think the tag team match was FTR against the Bang Bang Gang, which was Juice Robinson and Austin Gunn, because Colton Gunn and Jay White are injured. It was a Chicago street fight, and it was just amazing. AEW does tag team wrestling better than anybody, in my opinion. So, again, there's been matches that took place at the end of the year that aren't even... I just realized that I don't even have Cody Rhodes and John Cena's match from SummerSlam on here. See what I mean? Like, that's obviously an honorable mention. Cody Rhodes and John Cena's SummerSlam match was incredible. The WrestleMania match was okay. Then Fiend happened. Stop talking about it. Point is, leave your comments down there. I think 2026 is going to be a banger year for big matches. And got one more video to do from last year. That's my top 10 shows of the year. Again, there's a pretty big hint throughout this video what number one is probably going to be. But until then, and until next time, this is JT Channel. I am JT, and I will see you in the next one.